Yes, everybody, good afternoon. So today we are going to talk about discourse studies and education. So actually, this material is based on Theophandides. So Theophandides is one of the most popular experts or writers in discourse studies and education. So there are so many theories which are presented and created by Theophandides. And usually, if you're interested in anything, something like research in sociolinguistics or psycholinguistics or discourse studies or discourse analysis, all right, consulting with the education, Theophandides is the proper names as your center of theories. Okay, and in this discourse studies and education, I'm going to try to combine that when we talk about discourse studies, it has a relation with education. It means that discourse studies, it does not stand by itself, but it should be combined with the education fields. Okay, so when you study linguistics, for example, or when you study in linguistic departments or literature departments, all right, mostly you will get so many materials about literature itself or linguistics itself. But when you study in English study program or pendidikan bahasa Inggris, otherwise, well, you have materials like discourse studies, it should be in line with the educations, right? So here is my profiles. Actually, if you're interested in knowing me further about my profiles or my career or my productions, you may take a look through this URL. All right, and here is my citations. You may take a look in Google Cendekia. Otherwise, you may take a look also how many books that I have already produced in Perpusnas Go ID. All right, and Sinta, Garuda, Publon, here are something like the URLs. If you have some production, something like tulisan karya ilmiah or articles or something else. All right, I do not need to show this to you. So, Aris, what is your opinion about this picture? What's this? The picture in the left side. What is this actually?
Reading is important.
All right, so reading is important. Okay, so when you have something like picture like this, all right, and you have the clause like this, okay, so actually it deals with something poetry. All right, something poetry. Ways to escape like a books and so on and so on. The other poetry, you also will find something like lyric of the songs, right, or song lyrics, right, or something like stories, right. So you are going to deal with this kind of examples. Or the other example is now something like this in the right side. Okay, so what is this in this the right side? It looks like, you know, something deals with ancient, all right, or something deals with the cultures, or something deals with the Greeks, all right. So I can say that it deals with something anthropology, all right, and this deals with something the literature. So actually, what we are going to talk uh, is relating to this kind of pictures. And when we talk about discourse studies, actually, you may go to so many fields of study. Okay, so if you're interested in having something like the other fields of the discourse studies, okay, so you may go with communication as the excellence. When you find there are some communications among virtual communication or direct communications, okay, so you have to take a look that having communications as the accent, you may use speech X, all right, as the knife of analysis. So speech X, it deals with something like communication as actions, or you may take a look as the elocution and politeness. Okay, if you want to analyze using the politeness, for example, and the politeness actions conducted by students and teachers, or by teachers and teachers, or by students and students, right? You may use this kind of politeness. So politeness is the proper analysis if you want to have something like communication as the excellence. When you go dealing with discourse and communications, okay, so it deals with the pragmatic and sociosemiotics. So pragmatic deals with something like the action, meaning in the actions, all right, and sociosemiotic it deals with something like the signs in social. You may find so many sociology in your surrounding or social interaction in your surroundings, whether social interaction between, between atasan dan bawahan, or between guru and kepala sekolah, or between orang tua dan anak, right? So it is something like some socio semiotic. Then discourse type it deals with something like function, form, and multimodality. When you're interested in traditional grammar, it belongs to the discourse type. You talk about the function, about the form, all right? But when you want to have something like meaning, it deals with the multimodality. Okay, so you may analyze the image using multimodality. Okay, something like pictures, something like image, something like cartoon. You may use as the multimodality as your macro analysis. Then it is followed by structure content, right? Structure contains means that it could be separated into two types of structure contains, like microstructure and superstructure. When you teach your student, it deals with the microstructure. So your students are being given by simple present tense, simple past tense, simple continuous, and so on and so on. It belongs to the micro structure. When you want to have something like syntax in clauses in the novels or drama, it belongs to the superstructure. Okay, and then discourse connection. Discourse connection deals with the cohesion and coherence. So you may take a look some examples in text production in SMA or SMA or even vocational high schools. You may analyze apakah teks itu memiliki cohesion yang tepat atau coherence yang tepat. Alright. Dengan menggunakan discourse connection, you are going to analyze, okay, teks yang dibuat oleh buku pemerintah, for example, or buku penerbit tertentu, for example, itu mengalami kesalahan secara kohesif atau coherence. You may analyze it use this discourse connection, atau bisa menganalisis dengan menggunakan discourse connections. If you are interested in analyzing something like, buku cerita anak-anak, alright, misalkan cerita tentang Muslim, cerita tentang puasa, cerita tentang fables, cerita tentang budaya, but the stories are written in English, alright. You may analyze apakah cohesionnya benar, apakah coherence-nya benar menggunakan discourse connection. Then contextual phenomena, it deals with the thesis and presupposition, right? Thesis and presupposition. Actually, thesis and presupposition it deals with something pragmatic. Then you are going to know the deictic of the text, okay? The presupposition of the text. Presupposing bahasa it is called praanggapan, okay? And thesis here it is called as a deictic. Deictic itu adalah pronouns yang terdeitik, yang tertanda, okay? And stylistic. If you're interested in having something like metaphor, personification, and so on, itu berkaitan dengan stylistic. Okay, example, you are going to analyze the personification written by siapa, and then the metaphor written by siapa, metaphor pada sebuah lirik atau metaphor pada sebuah lagu. So it deals with the stylistic. Okay, then followed by conversational analysis. Okay, it deals with discourse markers and turns taking. Conversational analysis, it is happening in your classroom. It could be whether when you do your dialogue with your students or when you do your conversation with your group of students, right? So you do as the conversational analysis. I can say that these following are encoded in discourse studies too. When you are having narrative discourse like sociolinguistic, psycholinguistic, when you combine some occurrence social with the language, that is called the sociolinguistic, and when you try to combine psychological with the occurrence of language, it is called the psycholinguistics. Okay, so narrative discourse, sociolinguistic and psycholinguistic, and discourse and cognitions, modeling product of discourse. Discourse and cognition something feels like There are so many products of discourse, whether it's spoken products or written products. Usually, when you find mass media communications, or when you find some media in social media or so on and so on, there are so many modern and product of discourse. Then you may took them, all right. You may take them as the object of research. Discourse and institutions. Well, when we talk about the politics, for example, you know, for example, Ade Armando. So he died because of he got so many kick and so many hit from the bus strikers, right? It is because of the politics there. It is because of media there. All right. So you may use politics, law, and media as the object of the analysis using discourse and inclusions. All right. Discourse and culture, it deals with critical discourse analysis and gender. So in this case, for example, if you are interested in having, the language protection used by female and the language protection used by males, misalkan, mana sih lebih baik, right, guru wanita atau guru laki-laki dalam mengajarkan bahasa asing, you may use this kind of gender discourse and culture. All right. So this discourse studies too, all right, narrative discourse, discourse and connection, discourse and fusion, and discourse and culture. Those are very beneficial for you if you're interested in writing using this kind of models. So again, what is this? All right. When you have a group of people like this with a different background and different education and different languages, right, that is part of the discourse actually. And then what is this? Right, the right side, now on in 21st century, all the education, it could be done by any kind of media, whether it's visual media or online media or even blended media or even direct media, right? So you may visit any kind of spaces using this kind of media. So actually it deals with the discourse, the relevance of the relevance of discourse studies in education is we refer to the new interdisciplinary field between linguistics, poetic, psychology, and social sciences concerns with the systemic theory and knowledge of the discourses and their various contexts. When you teach so many texts, right, in your students, SMB or SMA, there are so many texts and it parts of the text type. Nah, text type itu berkaitan dengan apa? Kita ajarkan juga ke siswa kita tentang poetry, poetic, alright, dan social sciences. Ada teks yang mengandung social sciences, alright. Nah itu kaitannya dengan apa? Sebetulnya teks-teks itu adalah bagian dari discourse, tetapi discourse in education. Itu relevansinya di situ, alright. And then sociology has made a great contribution to the study of structures and strategies of conversation in social interactions. Alright, whereas anthropology has a long tradition discourse analysis in the study of myth, folk tales, riddles, and other ritual and concept-specific discourse type. When we talk about sociology here, for example, social interaction, you pasti mengadakan suatu dialogues, alright, suatu dialogues, contoh dialog. Nah, when you do giving contoh dialogues, of course you do something like sociology perspective. Okay, sociology perspective. Maksudnya gimana dialog guru dengan siswa kan berbeda, alright. Dialog siswa dengan siswa kan berbeda. Right, that's part of the sociology perspective. What is meant by anthropology? Nah, anthropology apa? I don't know whether myth, fables, folktales apakah diajarkan di sekolah atau tidak. Kalau diajarkan dia, for example, of course it is part of the anthropology, right? Berbicara tentang, for example, descriptive text atau recount text, okay, berbicara tentang myth atau mitos atau fables dan lain-lain itu kaitannya dengan anthropology. So that we use this part, alright, of discourse studies in education. Kita tetap menggunakan ini, tetapi kita masukkan ke dalam ranah-ranah education, gitu. Mass communication. So mass communication finally involves the importance of analysis of the message. What is message in the social media actually? Ya banyak ya message in the social media that you can find often the publics, right? Which is crucial. Pay attention to the process of beliefs, opinions, attitude formations, and change in communicative context. Mass communication, there are so many witness that you can take the examples in mass communications, right? That mass communication juga berkaitan dengan discourse. Oke, kalau you mengajarkan misalkan tentang iklan atau mengajarkan tentang players atau mengajarkan tentang announcements, oke. Nah di sana ada tuh atau invitation, di sana ada kaitannya dengan mass communication. Ketika you mengajarkan iklan dan lain-lain itu, maka dia adalah discourse studies yang diterapkan dalam education, gitu, right? And in the interdisciplinary study of discourse seems to be relevant education. Ya kita tidak bisa menolak itu bahwa memang interdisciplinary dalam discourse studies kita masukkan ke dalam ranah-ranah education. Meskipun dalam si pembuat teks atau si pembuat kurikulum dia tidak menyadari itu, but then the result, right? We are realizing that ternyata memang discourse studies kita masukkan ke dalam konteks pembelajaran bahasa secara utuh. So we will limit ourselves to institutional education in schools and universities. Okay. So when we talk about education, institutional education, schools and universities, maka konteksnya adalah pada sekolah dan university. Intuitive speaking, for example, discourse play a primary role in education. Most of our learning material consists of text. Kita mengajarkan manual text, kita mengajarkan textbooks, instruction, classroom dialogue, and so on and so on. When we talk about semua elemen ini, maka dia masuk ke dalam discourse, alright, interdisciplinary yang kita masukkan ke dalam ranah education. Therefore, we first should systematically analyze the structure of discourse used in education, something like style, contents, and complexity. Ya, berbicara tentang metafora, personification, hiperbola, homonimi, hipodimi, and so on and so on. Itu juga bagian dari discourse yang dimasukkan di dalam education. Secondly, it should be assessed how the various use of such text influence the process of learning, the acquisition of the knowledge, termasuk beliefs, opinions, attitudes, abilities, and other cognitive of emotional changes, which are the goals of application. So, semua interdisciplinary disiplin yang ada dalam discourse itu berniatan untuk membangun, alright, untuk membangun proses of learning. Nggak mungkin dalam pembelajaran, ya bisa jadi, tetapi it will be more beneficial for teachers kalau mau kembangkan discourse studies pada ranah language education atau pendidikan bahasa. So we will have three parts of the elaboration. First, we will briefly summarize some basic results for the structure of discourse. So later after this, we are going to know what's meant by structure of discourse. Struktur dari discourse, for example, obtaining the current text grammar. All right. When we talk about structure, yeah, it deals with something text about the text grammar. Secondly, we will show how this relate to the works in cognitive psychology about the readings, comprehension, and mode of discourse, and the process of knowledge and informations. Thirdly, we will try to formulate some sequences of educational text. Educational text is not only the text, but it is educational text, practices, and goals. It should be stressed, though, that the left point will meet from the perspective of previous interest of education. So again, we cannot lose, okay, we cannot lose mengajarkan discourse diri sendiri. Sangat tidak mungkin di jurusan pendidikan bahasa Inggris, tetapi you akan mendapatkan discourse pada jurusan linguistik atau pada jurusan arts atau pada jurusan literature atau letters yang tidak bersinggungan dengan edukasi juga ada. So here are the structure of discourse. Okay, structure of discourse, you are going to deal with something like properties of the sentence. Apa sih properties of the sentence? Properties of the sentence itu terdiri dari morphologicals and syntacticals. Alright, and above all, it deals with the semantic and pragmatic. So again, alright, again, discourse itu rumahnya yang besar. So dalam discourse itu juga you pasti akan bertemu dengan morphological and syntactical. You akan berbicara dengan semantic, pragmatic, linguistic, and so on and so on, right? So this first structure, it is called discourse and conversations. Okay, properties of the sentence. And secondly, sentence sequences. What is my sentence sequences, urutan sentences, right? So such as the connections, the coherence, the topics, right? The changing of the topics, third taking systems in conversations. Thirdly, language use, right? When we talk about the language use, it deals with something like the text and discourse as the whole. Kalau you menganalisa teks, berarti itu fokus pada language use. Alright, kalau you menganalisis pada connection, coherence, topiknya, alright, taking systemnya, berarti you bekerja pada ranah-ranah sentence sequences. Kalau you mengarah kepada semantic and pragmaticsnya, alright, berarti you fokus pada propertiesnya, pada properties kalimat. Karena properties kalimat itu bisa kita arahkan ke dalam semantik atau ke dalam pragmatics. Kalau dia ranah kalimatnya pada spoken, kita mengarahnya kepada pragmatic. Kalau dia mengarahnya kalimat kepada written, berarti kita mengarahnya kepada semantics. Then relative grammaticalness, alright. Again, grammaticalness. Ada yang bilang bahwa grammar is everything, or grammar is the most important things. So we can answer by this point of view. Sentences are not simply grammatical or ungrammatical. So when we talk about sentences, itu nggak bicara tentang grammatical or ungrammatical. They often occurs as the elements in the sequence, and their grammaticalness may depend on the structure of the surrounding of the sentence. That is, grammaticalness is a relative notion. Jadi apakah dia bermakna grammar atau tidak, itu ya tergantung the relative notions. Tidak melulu pada sequence atau urutan pola atau urutan kata. At the phonological levels, we observe that the assignments of the stress and intonation patterns depend on information distributions. This is the phonological levels. Kalau phonological levels berarti information distributions, like common structures, like contrast between subsequent sentence and sequence sentence. That's a phonological level. Stress and intonation, ada falling intonation, raising intonation. That is phonological levels. And syntactic levels, it deals with the with the modality, alright, with the dative, with the tense, itu ranah-ranahnya pada syntactic levels. Alright, kalau you menganalisis kemampuan tensesnya siswa, kemampuan simple past tense-nya siswa, berarti ranahnya kepada syntactic levels. Kalau you menganalisis pada spellingnya siswa, berarti ranahnya kepada phonological levels. Right. Sequential structures, urutan pada structures, beside the relative analysis of the sentence, structure discourse requires explicit description of the structure sequence of the sentence. Sequence of the sentence, kalau ke dalam composite kita bisa bilang ke compound sentence and complex sentence, itu masuk ke sequential structures. Alright, or we not only have the usual intercausal connective, okay, yang sebagai kata penghubungnya and, but, causal to, dan seterusnya. Connectivenya juga beginning with the new sentence, however, so consequently, and so on and so on. So it belongs to sequential structures. Alright, in compound sentence and complex sentence and compound complex sentence, kita akan menggunakan intercausal connective. Misalkan you membuat analisis tentang jenis-jenis intercausal connectives yang dipakai pada mahasiswa atau siswa dalam membuat cerita, dalam mendeskripsikan cerita, and so on and so on, dalam menemukan sebuah cerita, short story, dan seterusnya. Itu bisa menggunakan intercausal connective. Macrostructure, right? Macrostructure, one of the most interesting features in the semantic analysis or textual sequences itu adalah semantics microstructures. Textual sequences here means that you menemukan teks pada bungkus iklan, atau you menemukan teks pada manual HP, you menemukan teks pada kata-kata di sebuah kafe, and so on and so on. Itu bisa digunakan secara semantic microstructures. And semantic microstructures, higher level semantic structures, are derived from the proportional sequence of the text by number of macro rules. Jadi nanti menganalisisnya secara macro rules. Macrostructures define the intuitive notion of global meanings. Kita kan, kalau you lihat pada podcastnya Deddy Corbuzier, di sana kan ada contoh kalimat-kalimat ya, contoh kata-kata yang di sebagai backgroundnya kata-kata, entah itu kata-kata penyemangat atau kata-kata motivasi dan seterusnya, itu bagian dari yang bisa kita analisis dengan menggunakan global meaning. The required application macro rules defined is the most prominent and relevant aspects. It is part of the discourse. Jadi you juga bisa menganalisis, misalkan you datang ke hotel tertentu, kemudian di hotel tertentu ada kata-kata tertentu yang menggelitik you gitu, or you datang ke resto cafe, ada kata-kata yang menggelitik buat you gitu, itu bisa dianalisis dengan menggunakan semantic microstructure. So Here are the examples that actually you may use the macrostructure. Banyak media tertentu yang kita sering lihat, alright, kita sering lihat, but then we do not realize that kita tidak menganalisanya, kita melihatnya ya secara sekilas saja, gitu, right? But then actually we can use this as the object of our research or our articles. Bahwa kita harus meng-awarekan, right, siswa kita kepada ranah-ranah diskurs itu, ya, tidak melulu pada ranah-ranah identification, tapi ranah-ranah diskurs yang kita tarik ke dalam identification, dan itu it make them interesting. Pragmatic structure, it deals with the meaning semantics, alright. Now when we talk about pragmatics, maka ada assertions, ya, ada promises. Assertion itu ada tuntutannya, ada promises, ada threats. Maka bahasa-bahasa kampanye itu bisa dianalisis secara pragmatis, ya, secara pragmatis atau relevant semantics. Apakah speech-nya, kampanyenya itu mengandung premises, right? Banyak janji-janji atau threats, ya, atau apa namanya, mengancam dan seterusnya. Kita bisa mengambil itu. Oke, bahasa kampanye bisa kita analisis. Alright. Now when we talk about actually pragmatic, itu kaitannya dengan knowledge, beliefs, preferences, and wants, rules, and social relationship. Kalau kita lihat, ya, kalau kita lihat dengan adik Armando yang dipukuli itu, kita bisa melihat kolom netizen, ada yang mencaci, ada yang mengumpat, ada yang kasihan dan sebagainya. Kita bisa melihat beliefs-nya netizen. Berarti ini netizen yang pro pemerintah atau tidak pro pemerintah. Kita bisa melihat preferences-nya kita. So that kita juga bisa melihat dan mengukur preferences siswa kita ketika kita mengajarkan tentang procedure text, ya, procedure text dengan teks bagaimana membuat suatu minuman atau bagaimana membuat suatu masakan, gitu, atau bagaimana mengoperasikan sesuatu. Preference mereka yang mana sih? Oh, ternyata preference mereka lebih suka bagaimana membuat makanan. Mereka tidak suka bagaimana mengoperasikan sesuatu. Nah, itu bisa menggunakan ini preference. Okay. And about the monological and dialogical text flow, all right? Actually, in your classroom, when you did SMO, monological conversation, I don't know whether it disampaikan atau tidak, ya. Monological conversation something like dia berpresentasi secara monolog, right? Dia berpresentasi monolog, dia mempresentasikan pendapatnya dia, opininya dia, right? Ini perlu diperhatikan di classes atau dialogues, right? Biasanya kita meminta our students to come forward and they are practicing the dialogues, biasanya gitu. Nah, anyhow itu juga kita gunakan sebagai pembelajaran discourse dalam konteks language educations. Okay, so something like this, it deals with the practice actually. Kita sering melihat iklan-iklan ini, don't stare too long, you'll miss the train. Nah, ini kan pasti ada maknanya, right? Pasti ada maknanya, a break, have a KitKat, something like woman's let's say, apakah kalau tidak woman nggak safe gitu, alright? Kalau nggak woman nggak safe naik mobil ini, berarti kan naik menggunakan asuransi ini atau apa nih, yang menggunakan asuransi ini gitu. So by this kind of advertisement actually, that's semua teks dalam ini dia menggunakan pendekatan discourse, alright. So stylistic, alright, stylistic and rhetoricals. Stylistic and rhetorical something feels right. Gaya bahasa. Dalam bahasa Indonesia kita namakan itu adalah gaya bahasa. So usually remember, right, what kind of the gaya bahasa that we may use. Okay, so gaya bahasa dalam iklan kita bisa gunakan. Gaya bahasa dalam story kita bisa gunakan, right? Then we can analyze, oh, kenapa personifikasi itu seperti misalkan, the mountain is big, she smiles to me, misalkan. Kenapa kok mountains itu personifikasinya si gitu ya, mountains itu gunung itu personifikasinya si. Kemudian kenapa si laut itu personifikasinya adalah dengan pronounce-nya adalah si gitu. Why, kenapa itu kita nggak tahu juga gitu kan. Ya karena itu adalah agreements ya. Convention berarti sesuatu yang cantik itu, personifikasinya adalah wanita gitu. The fire, misalkan the fire hits me, fire itu dipersonifikasikan dengan he, gitu kan, dipersonifikasikan dengan laki-laki. Teachers itu sebenarnya dipersonifikasikan secara native, dipersonifikasikan dengan she, bahwa guru itu memang kebanyakan she gitu, kebanyakan perempuan. Maka di dalam konteks novel Inggris ya, atau dalam bahasa native itu guru itu dengan she, personifikasinya dengan she. Atau otherwise kalau sesuatu yang bersifat maskulin itu dipersonifikasikan dengan he gitu. Nah itu it's kind of the stylistic. Right. And superstructures, it deals with the in the story. So in the story, you are going to deal with the argumentations and setting communication, resolutions, evaluations, right, and more in the story. So superstructure is more, more complicated rather than macrostructure. You bisa menganalisis dengan menggunakan superstructure kalau you tertarik dengan literature, dengan sastra dan seterusnya. So again, conversational analysis, school dialogues and school conversation. Kita sering kalau di dalam kelas itu pasti mengetahui bahwa siswa kita mengadakan atau melakukan dialog dengan temannya sendiri atau melakukan conversation dengan temannya sendiri. But then, right, the conversation they build is mostly in bahasa Indonesia, even though in bahasa Indonesia, right? Or if you ask your student make a group to have any discussion in a group, ya mereka tetap menggunakan mix, kadang menggunakan bahasa Indonesia or menggunakan bahasa Inggris. You may use this as the object analysis. Yeah, it is talking about the dialogue conversations, right? So everything in your classroom atmosphere you may use as the discourse session identification. Interactional analysis, ya, kalau ada dialog atau conversation di dalam classroom itu dinamakan dengan interaction analysis, bagian dari discourse. Okay, and various social context. Pada bulan-bulan puasa ini mereka mesti menggunakan social konteksnya tentang Ramadan, right? Terawihnya di mana, bukanya bagaimana, sahurnya apa dan seterusnya. Itu or nanti Lebaran sudah beli baju atau belum, itu various social context, right? Various social context. Mereka nggak akan membicarakan tentang misalkan Agustusan gitu ya. Agustusan itu April, 21 April nanti gimana, enggak. Jadi social context pada perayaan 21 Aprilnya akan hilang, lebih kepada Ramadannya. Dan itu juga berkaitan dengan discourse. Gitu. So, seberapa penting discourse-nya itu. Nah, that's all that I can say about this discourse studies. The interdisciplinary we may use one of the interdisciplinaries, or you may take a look. If you're interested in one of them, all right, for your thesis, you may go work with it. Discourse processing, I will be telling you for the next video. I guess that's all that I can present. All right, is there any more questions? Is there any more questions, please?
Talk about advertisement, sir.
Yeah.
Advertisement is discourse, always discourse. Do you agree with that?
I guess so. I agree. All the advertisements, whether it is written as advertisement or spoken advertisement or visual as advertisement, so they use discourse as the bottom perspective of the basic perspective. They cannot avoid discourse, all right, to arrange the sentence, to create the words, to create the clause, including with the pictures. So when we have a take a look, right, something like pictures like this, burger or car or chocolate, it is part of the multimodality. All right. Now multimodality is part of the discourse. Okay, part of the discourse. Nggak mungkin misalkan ini bisa bayangkan ini gambarnya nggak burger di gambar gambar helm gitu kan, nggak connect ya, konteksnya nggak nyambung. Nah, mengkonekkan itu butuh multimodality part of the discourse. That's my answer, Aris. Aris.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Understandable, Aris?
Uh, enough.
Okay, what more? What else?
So I'd like to ask to you how to avoid the main misunderstanding to the context of the context as the purpose of a certain language like that. For example, how to uh, how to cover the misunderstanding of uh, interpreting the context or the meaning of something like semantic or etc. like that. What is the tips? What are the tips for it? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Reza, for the questions, the great question. Actually, again, we cannot avoid interdisciplinary fields of discourse, all right? So while you are discussing with your teachers, you are discussing about some interesting topics, right? So the topic should be based on the context, all right? Based on the psychological orders, based on the, sociology, psychology, semantic, and pragmatic. For example, you will be misconception if you have something like lack of knowledge of pragmatics, all right, the presuppositions, something like you want to ask someone to do something, all right, but the one cannot get your instruction. It is of course troubles. Okay, why? Because the one who is ordered by you, they do not, or he or she do not understand what you deliver the message. All right. So the thing that you have to remember is discourse need something more interdisciplinary. Discourse needs coherence, cohesion. Discourse needs pragmatics. Discourse needs multimodality. All right. That the discourse is something like iklan, for example. So this iklan, for example, it is part of the discourse, right? It is visual discourse, and it is impossible for the iklan creator no using the words, for example. Misalkan ini nggak ada tulisan women's that safe, hanya a good saving culture, bla 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 bla. Menarik nggak iklan? Iklan ini nggak menarik. Alright, that's why the advertiser or the advertisement creators they use women's, let's say. Dia menggunakan ini kenapa? Karena ini adalah message, gitu. Karena ini adalah message. Lalu multimodality yang mendukungnya apa? Ada gambarnya. Kalau di sini adalah women misalkan ya. Di sini nggak mungkin ada anak-anak, di sini nggak mungkin ada laki-laki. You get the point? Nah itu konteks. That is the context. Di sana ada sociology, right? Ada sosial. Di sana ada psychology, ya, mempengaruhi good shaping cultures. Di sana ada multimodality. Multimodality apa sih? Ya gambar, ya image, ya simbol, ya sign. Gitu. Oke. Nah, itu Reza.
So do you think that there is the analyzing of something by mentioning mode, tenor, and what it, mode, tenor,
Code.
and etc. There are three kinds to make the readers understand, to analyze the context, the certain context. My question is both of the points enough to make the reader understand the context between mode, tenor, and etc. like that?
We cannot. So there are three parts of elements in having the context: mode, tenor, and code. All right, and code. So we have to use mode. All right, we have to use the mode. The mode is the message that we are going to deliver to whom. All right, so the tenor is to whom that we are speaking to. All right, so the code is the inside meaning of the message that we are delivering to the one. All right. So by using mode, tenor, and code, it is part of the context. We cannot separate one it stand by itself. So something
Okay,
like
sure,
something like when you talk about pragmatics, to the one who do not understand the pragmatics, it means that the tenor is misplaced. All right, the tenor is misplaced. Again, when you talk about when you talk about the curriculums, all right, curriculums to your friends who are engineers, so then the quote is misplaced. All right, lalu dia nggak akan dapatkan konteks dan percakapan itu akan discontinued. You get my point? The example, the same as when you talk about keuntungan bulan Ramadan kepada non Muslim misalkan. Ini malam Lailatul Qadar loh, kita ngomong kepada orang Muslim, right? Moodnya oke, tapi tenornya nggak oke, nggak akan sesuai konteks. Moodnya oke, tetapi quote-nya nggak oke, nggak dapat konteks. You got it, Reza?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
Sorry, sir. Talk about pragmatic and discourse are similar, sir, or pragmatic is pragmatic and then this.
Yeah, pragmatic is one of the contents in discourse. Discourse is the big house, and pragmatic is the components, one of the components in discourse. When we work with discourse, you may work with pragmatic, with semantic, with sociolinguistic, with psycholinguistics, with multimodality, with linguistic, and so on and so on. That is the discourse. The big house.
Pragmatik adalah bahan untuk discourse gitu, Pak.
Sorry?
Pragmatik adalah bahan untuk menjadi discourse gitu.
No, pragmatic is one of the discourse field. When we talk about pragmatic is part of the discourse. Pragmatic is part of the discourse. Encoding semantic is part of the discourse. All right. So when you work with something like text in action, text in action, you analyzing social interactions or classroom interaction, itu maksudnya ke pragmatics nanti. Alright, kalau you nanti menganalisis pada meaning, in the text, you menganalisis pada pada teks yang dihasilkan oleh dosen atau siswa, nah itu bisa ke semantics. Alright, you menganalisis speech misalkan speech orang kampanye itu bisa secara pragmatis. Apakah dia discourse? Yes, dia discourse, spoken discourse. Alright, Aris. Dulu S1 dapat pragmatik kan?
Dapat, Pak.
Ya. Gitu. Right, if there is no more questions, I would like to continue for the presentations. Okay, Amin, you are ready,
yes, sir.
You are ready,
Yes, sir, inshallah.
All right, you may share your screen.